Hi, I'm Mary from Mary Stories, and today's project is a very simple sweater which is made of two scarves, and we make a central seam and two side seams, and with no increases or decreases we have a sweater, a very simple sweater. Let's go take your yarn. It's a very simple cotton yarn, and your hook, which is a 6mm crochet hook, and we are going to chain a foundation chain who is going to be 15 chains, and after this the numbers required is 25, 35 plus 10 to a basic 15 foundation chain. For this medium size I'm going to chain 55 chains, chain loosely this foundation row, so it's not going to be tight at the bottom edge, and we're going to work a lacy pattern. For size medium we have chained 55 chains. Now I'm making a small sample. So for row 1, insert your hook in 10th chain from the hook, find the 10th chain and work there a double crochet, and work in this same stitch 6 more double crochets. Don't worry if that loop it's getting a little bit big. So insert and work a third double crochet. A double crochet is yarn over, insert your hook in the loop, yarn over and pull through 2 loops, yarn over and pull through 2 last loops. This is a simple crochet stitch. So we're going to work 7 double crochets in the same loop, and from now on we're going to call it a cluster. A cluster is made of 7 double crochets in same stitch. After this, chain 1, skip next 4 chains, and in 5th chain work a double crochet and chain 1 right after this. Remember to chain 1 after everything you are doing. So skip next 4 stitches, and into that 5th stitch work a cluster as before. This is the repetition for this row. A cluster which is made of 7 double crochets, and after this skipping 4 chains and chaining 1 in between, we will chain 1 double crochet. So work double crochet number 3 in the same stitch, and 4, and we go on patiently because the first row is always a row which we have to follow very slowly. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so 1 more. No, I have 7, so chain 1 and skip. At the end we should have 5 chains. Skip 4 chains, and into that last chain work a double crochet. This is row 1, a small sample row. At the real scarf you are going to make more clusters. Turn, and we are now at row 2. For row 2, chain 4, that is equal to a double crochet and a chain 1, and into that very first loop work a double crochet, and chain 1, chain 1, and at the center double crochets of the cluster of previous row, at the third one, at the fourth one, and at the fifth one, we are working a double crochet in each one of them. So work a double crochet into that third, double crochet into fourth and fifth, and chain 1 right after this. So now go at the double crochet loop of previous row and work a double crochet, chain 3, and a double crochet into the same stitch. So this is a big V stitch, and chain 1. So on this row we are going to repeat 3 double crochets and after this a V stitch. Count 1, 2, 3, and into the third loop of the cluster of previous row work a double crochet. Work a double crochet into the next stitch and a double crochet into the next stitch. And from now on, always on a cluster we are going to work 3 double crochets. Chain 1 and count the second loop, the second chain of the 9 chains that we left at the beginning, and work there a double crochet. Chain 1 and a double crochet into that same stitch. So we end the row the same way we have started. We have started chaining 4, which is equal to a double crochet and chain 1, and we end with double crochet, chain 1, and double crochet into that same stitch. For row 3, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and work into the chain 1 space of previous row right below us 3 double crochets, 1, 2 into the space, not in some particular loop, and the third double crochet into the space, and chain 1. And now work a double crochet into the middle out of the 3 double crochet of previous row. Double crochet and chain 1. And after this, work a cluster into the chain 3 space of the V stitch. So 7 double crochets, 1, 2 into the same space of the V stitch of previous row, 3, 4, 5, 6, we have 2 more to go, 6 and 7. And from now on, do know that always in V stitches we are going to work clusters, and chain 1 and work a double crochet, find the middle of out of the 3 double crochet of previous row and work there a double crochet, and chain 1, and we're going to end working into the last space 4 double crochets. So we end as exactly we have started. We have started chaining 3 and working 3 double crochets. This is equal to 4 double crochets, and we end working 4 double crochets into the last space at the edge of the row. This was row 3, and turn to work row 4. Basically our rows are 2. on one row we're working clusters and 1 double crochet, and on the other row 3 double crochets and V-stitches. For row 4 work a chain 3 and find the second loop of the previous row and work there a double crochet and chain 1. Right below we can see a double crochet standing, so in this loop of the double crochet of previous row we're going to work a V-stitch, double crochet, 3 chains and double crochet in the same stitch, all in the stitch of double crochet of previous row, and chain 1. Before us we can see a cluster. Count 3, find the third double crochet of cluster of previous row and work there a double crochet, and work a double crochet next stitch and a double crochet next stitch. So we have 3 in a row, and chain 1 right after this. Don't forget to chain 1 after whatever thing you do, and then a V-stitch in a double crochet of previous row, that is double crochet, chain 3 and double crochet all in same stitch, and chain 1 and work a double crochet into the double crochet stitch of previous row, and then double crochet into the third chain of starting chain 3. So when the row as exactly we have started, working 2 double crochets, and this was row 4. I'm going to work a row 5, which is exactly the repetition of row 1, but we have to work it to understand better. So chain 4, this is equal to a double crochet and a chain 1 space, and we're going to work a cluster. So we can see a V-stitch, there we work 7 double crochets, then 1 double crochet into the middle and cluster again. This is the repetition. The only different thing is that row number 3 and 5, which are exactly the same, are starting and ending in a different way. The same is for row 2 and 4. They are exactly the same thing, rows, but they are worked differently at the beginning and at the end. So we are going to work 7 double crochets into the same chain 3 space of V-stitch of previous row. It's a little bit difficult to work 7. Sometimes you get confused, but I believe that working the same thing all the time is going to give the right instruction to our brain, and we can work it without counting very much. After the cluster, chain 1 and work a double crochet in the middle double crochet of previous row, chain 1 and then a cluster in V-stitch of previous row, 3 double crochets, 4 double crochets and 5 and 6 into that same space and 7. We make different edges because on row 3 we have at the edge the single double crochets, and on row 5 we have the clusters. So when we have clusters at the edge, we need something small like 1 double crochet, and this is what we did at row number 5. I hope it's a lacy pattern that you are going to love, and you can work it with a smaller hook or with a different yarn, with an acrylic yarn, or whatever you like. Just do remember that on one row we do clusters and double crochets, and on the other row 3 double crochets and V-stitches. That's the recipe, let's say, of the pattern. So we are crocheting 2 scarves. I chained 55 chains to make my size medium, and once I have worked the 2 scarves, I put them parallel one to the other and made a central seam up to a point, leaving at the middle of the 2 scarves a big gap, let's say, a big part unsewn. This part is around 20 for the front and 20 for the back, but altogether it's in the middle of the 2 scarves. It's around 40 or 44 centimeters, and this gives us the V shape, the V-neck shape, that is equal to the front part and to the back. After we are done with our central seam, we are going to work our side seams, working sewing from the bottom up to a point, so we leave unsewn the armhole part, which is not an armhole. It's basically a sleeve, a short sleeve for this sweater, which is around 20 or 22 centimeters till shoulder, and the same to the back. So altogether our armhole piece is which is left unsewn is around 40 or 42 centimeters. We are going to sew the sides and the central seam, having the right side of our t-shirt, our tee in front of us. We just measure that we do the same opening back and forth. I have started from the bottom. You can see that my sewing hasn't left any sign, any trace. It's really invisible. Just keep in parallel position the 2 scarves, and I make stitches from one part and then from the other part. Don't pull your yarn too much, because this seaming is going to be tightened, and so pull gently, and you can see that it doesn't leave any trace from the right side. From the wrong side you can see clearly the trace of the sewing method. So use your preferred sewing method if you like, and sew up to a point that we have chose to be our bottom neckline point. You can try it on, you can pin the 2 scarves and try it on, so you know better which is the right point that you want your neckline to be. Maybe you want it deep because you are going to wear it with a t-shirt inside, or you want it more closed. At the end of sewing, I make a stitch, so I secure the ending point, and I go to the back side, to the wrong side of my sweater, and I'm going to weave my end. I'm gonna give you some tips for the sizes. So for size small, work chain 45 chains. Do this twice, once for one scarf and once for the second scarf, so, because we need 2 scarves to make this sweater. So when we chain 45, we're going to have a piece that is 24 centimeters wide, and this is our size small. You are going to work for around 70 rows, and your length is going to be 58 centimeters. Now I have worked I have sewn one part of my side, and to do the other part I'm folding the sweater, so I put a mark at the same point and work the second side seam. And to start this seaming, I travel a little bit. I weave my end before I start sewing, and I go back again to the point that will be my starting point. So sewing, it's easy, I believe. I'm going to talk to you again about sizes. So for size medium, chain 55 chains, you are going to have 27 centimeters wide, I mean the one scarf. So the whole width of our front piece is going to be 54 centimeters. And you are going to work for around 70 rows or more, which is around 58 centimeters long. For size large or extra large, chain 65, and your width is going to be 34 centimeters. Work for around 80 rows, and this is going to give you 66 centimeters length. And for a bigger size than this, for 2 extra large or 3 extra large, chain 75 chains. That is going to give you a width around 44 centimeters, and you are going to work again for 80 rows or 85 rows, and you are going to have 66 or 50 centimeters length. The length is very easy to adjust, because you can try it on while you are working. You can do this working the one scarf, put it on your shoulder and check how long it is to the front side and how long it is to the back side, and if it's okay with you, then you stop crocheting and you make your second scarf just like the first one. I believe this is a nice, loose and comfy tee, and it's a very nice pattern to work even in acrylic yarns or in some shiny yarns that we can wear at Christmas. It's a very nice pattern for a yarn in a gold, let's say, color, or a very red one, a burgundy red one, which is a festive color, let's say. Thank you very much for following me, that you give me strength to go on making these videos. Lately it was very difficult to do this, but I'm going to fix it. Thank you very much. Subscribe and leave me your comments so I know what you want to see, or ask me anything you want about the pattern. Bye!